Okay, sorry about that, guys. We're back. I had to go out and come back in to get us connected to Instagram. So let me make sure we're good on the Instagram side of things, and we are good on the Instagram side. So we are back. Hey, everybody, welcome to the live feed. We're just going to give everybody a minute or two to get in. This is our weekly P&G LinkedIn Live episode. It's going to be a combination of things ranging from uh, uh, brief conversations that I'm going to be having with you, sharing with you useful information that I think would do you and your small business a lot of good. And likewise, we're going to be bringing our professional partners, even our clients from time to time, here to speak with you as well, to share with you tips and ideas and concepts that are working and helping to have small businesses grow and expand and scale, which is what we're all about. So by way of introduction, P&G Advisors is really all about, as the name will suggest, that our clients be profitable and grow. That's what the P&G stands for, profit and growth. Our domain name is profitandgrowth.com, and we are bookkeepers and business advisors that are specifically dedicated towards working with small business owners and helping them to have those businesses work as hard for them as they've worked with it. If you're not a small business owner, you certainly know one, and you know that they work long hours and they're extremely dedicated to their chosen craft. But what oftentimes happens is that they either A, burn themselves out, B, run out of money, C, they have the IRS knocking at the door, or D, that they end up leaving those businesses, not necessarily because they want to, but because they have to. And the businesses aren't ones that necessarily the kids want to come and run at all. And it's certainly not a position where it can be sold. So what we've seen happen time and time again is that businesses tend to go shuttered, worthless, and that we're committed to turning that tide and helping that not to be the case. Because what we found is that small business owners, they and founders, they understand revenue and expenses, they understand profits, losses, assets, liabilities, but what they very seldom understand is value, and that's what we're really about. So there are a few methodologies that we really believe wholeheartedly in. One of which is is Profit First by Mike McCallowicz. So we buy that book for all of our clients. Another book we buy for our clients is Built to Sell by John Warrilow. And the last book, well, we're actually writing a book of our own called the Business K, which is sort of a play on the moniker 401k. And one of the things we're suggesting is that your business is your real retirement plan. You just have to learn how to structure it in that way. But in lieu of that book coming out, we buy a book, our clients, one of three different books, either Traction by Gino Wickman, Scaling Up by Vern Harnish, or Get Scalable by Ryan Dice. And so they all kind of make the same point. I would say just pick whichever one calls to you. They have some nuances. So if you're a reader, read all three. But ultimately, our thrust is to A, make sure you're profitable as a small business owner. B, to make sure that you are clear about your value and your end game, and C, that you have a mechanism and operating system to begin to help you close the gap and create a leadership team, and again have the company to achieve scale. So that's it for our introductions. Thank you everybody for joining. Today's conversation though is called the automatic business, and this is a critical component of our value builder model. There are 8 key drivers of value. So once you understand your value, the work that we do with our clients is helping them really get their arms around the various levers and dials, the drivers, if you will, of value. And there are a number of values. I mean, certainly financial performance is one of them. That's the one that most people most readily understand. People get like right away, okay, yeah, I need to have a profitable business in order to have a valuable business. But what they seldom understand are the other 7 values, like something we call the Switzerland effect, which basically means your business can't be overly reliant upon any one vendor, any one customer, any one employee. Another driver is called customer satisfaction. How well and how actively are you soliciting your customers' feedback, and how good is it? Okay, and there's a power to that and a necessity to that, because obviously higher customer rated companies are going to be a higher valuation. growth potential, which is a function of two things, which is, hey, how strong is your market? B, how strong is your marketing and sales platform? Okay, those matter. So there's seven, and I could run down all of them. And I'll certainly get to all of them in future episodes. But we go through each and every one of those drivers with our clients, and we actively assess them, and we use them to help our clients again to grow and to be profitable. But another one driver that people very seldom think about when they think about the worth of their company is recurring revenue. That's a very, very powerful model. It is just the case now that recurring revenue model companies are more valuable than reoccurring models. And you want to think about what I just said there, recurring, reoccurring. They're not the same thing. So many of you have repeat customers, which is great. That's amazing. It's great that you build that kind of reputation that people will come back to you time and time and time and time again. And that's a very, very powerful win for you as a small business owner or a mid-sized business owner. Now, but with that said, though, if you think about it, when you have a reoccurring model, you almost technically have to sell your client time and time and time again. Your revenue isn't as predictable as it could be. So one of the things we push our clients towards, and any of our partners towards, is developing, at least on some level or another, a recurring revenue model. We want to get a little bit into that today and give you some ideas and some statistics and some thoughts about how to potentially create that for yourself or one of your clients. So that said, here's the presentation deck, the automatic business. And like we said, we want to talk about why is recurring revenue so much more valuable. So that said, I want to give you an example of a flower store. Okay. So consider the flower shop where 30% of a flower business's revenue happens on 2 days. That's Mother's Day and that's Valentine's Day. And I'd like to share with you a group of guys. This is Sanu and Brian, and they founded H Bloom. And what they did was they got wind of what it is that I'm going to share with you, and that they said, well, we can turn this phenomenon, this concept of seasonality and spoilage and turn that into something where we can stimulate the demand within this flower business. And what Sanu and Brian did was they targeted companies and sectors that needed flowers on a recurring basis. And they went through a bunch of different spaces to figure this out. But what they found was that 5-star hotels need flowers and bouquets constantly for their appearance. They don't do fake flowers. They order real flowers in real time. And they created a subscription model that helped them to be able to predict the future of their company by knowing exactly how many customers that they have to fulfill. And so what they turned was a traditional flower store spoilage rate of 60% to less than 2%. And if you think about that, that's phenomenal. They turned an average sale of $29 to an average sale of $4,524. Now, there's this thing called the Trojan horse effect that I want to just share with you. And basically what the Trojan horse effect says is that once your customers subscribe, they're actually more likely to subscribe to other offerings. So like you have brand equity, you have their payment information, you've built this relationship and trust, and you have permission to email them. And so the example that all of you would be familiar with is Amazon Prime. Subscribers are just more likely to buy from Amazon. Look at this. Amazon subscribers, non-Prime customers pay on average $450. Prime customers pay on average $1,400. Just want to let that in for a second. What might that look like for you if you were to put something like this into place? So for each and every business we find, I mean, we have some clients who absolutely insist that no, there's no way that I could have a recurring revenue model. But I promise you, for each and every business that you might be running or might be considering, there is a recurring version of that, or a recurring version of an aspect of that you could begin to utilize and put into effect. So we do this thing called a value builder report. And for those of you who aren't familiar with our work, so each and every one of our clients and prospective clients, you get a free value builder report, which means that you'll rate your business, but our system We'll offer an assessment of those relative to your peers in your space, in your industry. And we will likewise put together a evaluation. We'll tell you what your business is actually worth right now, what it takes or what it will take to get to your next level of development if you were to raise your scores in each of those 8 key drivers. So we compared businesses with recurring revenue models to businesses with no recurring revenue model. And we looked to see, well, how are these businesses performing? And what we found was that businesses with recurring revenue are increasing their revenue every year, as you might not be surprised by that by and large, recurring revenue models, all other factors being the same, are seeing year over year revenue growth. We're also seeing that businesses with recurring revenue expect their revenue to increase by more than 30% in the next year. So when they look at their projections, they're seeing 30% year over year growth based on the internal factors that they're constantly updating and correcting. Businesses with recurring revenue have stronger profit margins. If you look there, more than 20% of the respondents say that they're enjoying profits of somewhere around 45%, as opposed to their closest competitors who are under 30%. Businesses with recurring revenue models have higher gross profit margins, kind of like you saw there with the H. Bloom folks. They're reducing their costs, which in a lot of instances includes spoilage and delivery costs and storage and inventory costs. They have much, much, much higher gross margins than ones that don't have a recurring model. So that's one set of benefits, just purely financial for recurring model businesses. But let's look at how those businesses operate and see what they have to say. So owners of recurring revenue businesses are more focused on growing their top line revenue, which means that when you have a recurring revenue model, the internal operations of the business tend to be more predictable, which means that the owner, founder, marketing team gets to focus more on top line revenue as opposed to constantly having to put out fires on the operation side of things, because operations are so unpredictable. Businesses with recurring revenue are more likely to sustain the owner's absence for 3 months. Now this is a very critical question that we ask in our Value Builder survey. Could your business sustain itself if you were gone for 3 months? In recurring revenue and reoccurring revenue models, it's very, very difficult for the owner to be away because, again, there's so much that the owner's having to deal with in terms of unpredictability. But recurring revenue models add a level of predictability to the model that just wouldn't be there otherwise. Who do they turn to for advice? Who are recurring revenue models advisors? So owners of recurring revenue models are most likely to turn to a business coach, a business consultant for advice. Now, this is important for those of you who have bookkeepers or clerks or someone managing your affairs that you're certain probably shouldn't be managing your affairs, but I'd invite you to level up a little bit in terms of financial advice. Most owners prefer an advisor with a track record in the industry. Very salient point. I promise you there's somebody who has experience or who has worked with clients in your space. You just want to ask the question and make sure that you're working with those types of folks. And then the end game. What we ask those people, the recurring revenue model entrepreneurs, founders, owners, what is their end game? Most owners who have recurring revenue models are very clear about their ability to sell to a third party and actually have begun to put plans in place to do that. Not in every case immediately, but they know that that's coming down the line, and they look at their businesses more as an investment than people with reoccurring revenue models. Most owners fear not getting the value they think their business is worth upon selling it, with the exception of folks who have recurring revenue models. People with recurring revenue models are dramatically clearer for the value that they'll get versus those that don't have recurring revenue models. So let's talk about the offers for the ones that actually are selling their businesses. What kind of offers are they getting? We found that businesses with recurring revenue get 40% higher offers than ones that don't. Businesses with recurring revenue are 30% more likely to actually receive an offer. 80% of businesses who put themselves up for sale actually don't get sold, but 30% more of the ones that do actually do receive an offer. Okay, so here's what there is to know about creating a recurring revenue model. So we did an analysis of our data comparing how recurring businesses compare to businesses with no recurring revenue. And what we found is that the biggest mistake when creating a recurring revenue model is actually coming up with a subscription that's going to appeal to all of your customers. Now, that's the problem. And this might be where some of you are tripping yourselves up as well. You're not going to be able to please everybody. You're not going to be able to cater to each and every last one of your clients. You're going to have to pick something. Remember, the riches are in the niches. All right, you want to come up with something that can serve a very tight niche. Remember, with the H. Bloom guys, they targeted hotels. Now, is everybody going after floral business in the hotels? No, not even close, not even in the floral business. But what they found is that if we become the best that there is in this specific niche, we'll be fine. And that's my encouragement to you. Really be thinking about where, even if I focus, even though it might mean less volume in terms of units, the premium that I could charge, especially the recurring revenue that I would generate, what could that mean? What could that provide, at least as a test? So check us out at profitandgrowth.com. We'd love to talk to you more about this. Ultimately, what we want you to take away is, hey, look, if I have a recurring revenue model, will my business become more predictable? Will it become more profitable? Will I get higher offers when that time comes? Will I get more offers when that time comes? We can help you do that. Check us out at profitandgrowth.com. Also, there'll be a link in the comments below for downloading a free ebook that talks all about the world of recurring revenue. And I encourage you to download that, read it for yourself, really dig in, and certainly use us for what we might be useful for in terms of really helping you think through this process and putting your business in a position where it's profitable, where it's growing, where it's, again, working for you as hard as you've worked for it. So look, I thank you all for joining me on this live. I look forward to seeing you next week, and we'll talk about some other great topic as it pertains to having your business be profitable and have it growing. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon.